Awesome. Thank you so much. One, for the music. I feel like we all need that energy today. So thank you for that music. And it has been so much fun watching the chat to see where you all are going to school. It's great to see the variety, and excited to connect with you all today. My name is Mallory Rogers. I work in campus recruiting here at Capital One. And I have a pretty cool job. I think I get to help out with the events we host to really allow prospective candidates get to know a little bit more about life at Capital One. So I got to work with associates we have today to prepare for this event. And I can tell you, you all are in for a treat. We have 3 great associates here who are going to share a little bit more about life at Capital One, sharing all their tips and tricks since joining Capital One, and also hopefully answering some of your questions. So I wanted to say thank you for those of you who submitted questions during registration. We took those into account. We reviewed them, had a lot of fun, being like, great question. We'll add that in. So looking forward to facilitating the panel we have for you today. A couple things before we get started. I know we'll be putting a couple items into the chat today. So if you have any questions of, what roles are currently open or how to stay connected with Capital One, we'll make sure you get that information. So not to worry. But with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. I mentioned a panel. So we have 3 associates who will be joining us today to walk through really a day in the life. So this, we like to talk through, what are the ins and outs, what's it like in a typical day, but also talking through our culture, the people, how we interact with one another, and, what allows us to bring our true, authentic selves to work. So I also have my colleague, Amy, who's hanging out in the Q&A today. So we'll get to as many questions as we can in the Q&A, but if you have any additional other ones we're not able to get to, we'll be sure to follow up after the event. Okay, so enough of me talking. We're going to get into introductions and letting you get to know the associates we have on the call today. So I gave a brief introduction myself, but I've been at Capital One for almost 3 years now. So I'm having a lot of fun. It's really a great culture, a great group. And I think most of all, it's the people, which you'll have the pleasure of meeting the 3 great associates on the call today. So Joey, I'm going to hand it over to you. If you don't mind sharing a little bit more about your background and current role, that'd be fantastic.
Hello, thank you, Mallory, and hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Similarly to Mallory, I was so excited to see all your schools. I did see some UT Austin, so hook 'em to anyone out there, but really welcome to everyone. I'm so excited to be here and start to share some of my story and some of my journey at Capital One with you all. I am from Houston, Texas, but like I said, I went to the University of Texas at Austin. And I know you can see on my screen right there, it says software engineer, but my undergraduate major was actually in chemical engineering. In August of 2020, I joined Capital One. So I just recently celebrated my 1-year anniversary. And I actually didn't join right off the bat as a TDP. I actually joined through what's called CODA. And that stands for Capital One Developer Academy. So like I said, my background is in chemical engineering, but Capital One actually offered me CODA, which is a 6-month boot camp where they teach you to code, they teach you the fundamentals of software engineering before eventually rotating you into TDP, which stands for Technology Development Program. So I'm currently a first-year TDP. I work on an architecture intelligence team, and my team basically just makes sure that anything new that gets created at Capital One actually needs to be created so that we don't accidentally recreate something that's already in existence or anything like that. I love Capital One. I love my role. I love my team. I really like all of our campus programs. Being in TDP and being in CODA has been a blast so far. So like I said, I'm super excited to be here, and that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And I'm Nina. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm also a software engineer at Capital One. I've been here for 3 years now. So the technology development program that Joey mentioned is a 2-year program where you do one rotation for a year, and then you rotate to a completely new team and do a year there. I'm now on my 3rd year of still with my 2nd rotation, still loving it. I work in the risk data warehouse. So we collect risk and loss information from around the company, and we compile that into databases for our data analysts to use. So you can think about loss data as like your credit card gets stolen and someone uses it to buy a burrito at Chipotle. We're going to reimburse you for that cost. And so that's a piece of data that we want to collect, is that we had to pay that $10 to reimburse you for your credit card getting stolen. So imagine that at an entire company level. And so we're managing tons of data. So yeah, that's basically what I do. I'm happy to talk about my last role too, if anyone is curious. But yeah, looking forward to spending the next hour with you all.
All right, hi guys, welcome. I'm Jocelyn Wang. I graduated from EVA back in 2018. And like Joey, I actually went through the CODA program, so I majored in music and statistics back in college, went through CODA, and then the first team I was on, I worked on CapitalOne.com, so I was a front-end developer, and I also worked on a machine learning project for one of the Chrome extensions we have available for virtual cards, which is a really cool product where you can like create brand new credit cards that are linked back to your one credit card. So it's like a new credit card number, except it goes back to your original account. But I worked on an ML model for that, and now I'm on the applied machine learning research team, and I kind of have two roles under that. Under one team, we kind of do like internal consulting for teams. So they'll come to us, we'll say, hey, we'd like to apply, we're working with machine learning this way, and then we might help out. And then my other team, we write papers and try and get into conferences and try and like create new ML methods, which is really cool. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. Thank you all for those introductions, a little bit of background. And I do have to say, I am jealous by all of your virtual backgrounds. I really need to step up my game and be cool as you all with those great backgrounds.
It's just so no one can see the mess behind me.
Details. Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and kick off with our first question. I know when we were preparing for this event, we actually had some fun talking through this question. So I will kick it off and with the first question of, did you always know you wanted to work in fintech? Also can think of this, like, did you also always want to know you wanted to work for a bank? I know I've heard a couple people at Capital One say that upon joining of like, I never thought I would. So Nina, gonna toss this first question to you. I'm excited to hear your response, and Joey and Jocelyn, feel free to chime in after if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, so I guess I forgot to mention my majors. I majored in statistics and I did a BA in computer science. Never planned to go into computer science at all. So if you had told me that this is what I'd be doing now, I probably would have laughed. I always wanted to be an actuary, so very exciting career choice. But I actually just ended up getting an internship at a different fintech company and really enjoyed it. And I guess kind of continued my path at Capital One. And it's also really interesting being able to compare and contrast across different fintech companies, because I know all fintechs want to call themselves a tech company. And without naming names, Capital One has one in that department, just in terms of the resources that we have, the technologies we're allowed to use, not having to wait 5 years for something to get approved before we can use it. So they do a really cool job of balancing needing to be safe and making sure that everyone's resources are in good hands, while also making it so that we can give the best products using the best tools.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that response, Nia. Joey or Jocelyn, anything you want to add there? Or did Nina cover it?
I can chime in kind of with how I kind of got to Capital One / in fintech. So I actually switched majors a couple of times, and I was thinking about going into business, and I had started majoring in economics. But then at the same time, I started doing some UX design and small web development, like not using any frameworks or apps, just static HTML, CSS on the side with like a club at UVA. And those kind of came together, and I just realized, like what could I do with an economics degree? I could go into finance, and then I realized I didn't really want to go into the business side. And I figured, hey, I really enjoy coding. I really like tech. And that's when I figured, fintech would be a good fit. Capital One would be a really good fit, especially with the CODA program. I guess one thought I had behind that is I really wanted my job performance to depend on more of the hard skills and not so much, the softer skills and I guess office politics. What if, I didn't have a great relationship with my manager and it just didn't click? Like I wanted a very secure, black and white way to measure my job performance and career progression. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Joey, do you want to say something?
Yes, hearing their stories made me like want to add on, because I also never saw myself working in fintech or specifically at a bank. Like I said, my background was in chemical engineering, and similarly to Jocelyn, like a unique way to enter tech was I kind of just got thrown into it. Whenever I was interning before my senior year, I got to a company at a chemical engineering internship, and they were like, "You're gonna do this project in Python." I was like, "I don't code, like I don't know Python." They're like, "Well, you're gonna learn." And I was like, okay, well, I learned Python, and my internship was like half chemie, half software. I was kind of like liking both, really liking Python, starting to realize, okay, I really like coding. So I entered my senior year in like this big crisis on how do I switch from engineering to software engineering. And that's actually, I found Coda before I really saw myself working at Capital One. And once I saw that they had this Coda program, obviously I looked into Capital One because I was like, they're doing some amazing stuff here. Like I have to learn more about it. And so seeing all their amazing moves in tech and all the amazing journey to the cloud and everything that was going on, I kind of was just like, okay, this company is the real deal and they have amazing opportunities. Like I need to learn more. I have to apply. So I kind of, everything just fell into place and I ended up at Capital One, really.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And we do have one question from the audience, just confirming that you all started your careers right after school at Capital One. Yep, across the board.
Yeah, so the programs that we've been talking about, the Technology Development Program and the Capital One Developer Academy, are all programs meant for people within a year out of college. So another cool aspect that I'm sure we'll hit on later on. So we can pause it there.
Perfect.
Personally, I graduated in May 2018, and then I started at Capital One February 2019, so I got to travel between then, which was really cool.
I feel like I have a lot of follow-up questions to figure out where you traveled. I'm super interested. So maybe if we have time. Awesome. We're going to move into our we're going to move into our next question of really, what is it like being a Capital One Technology Development Program college hire? So we refer to it as TDP. So just want to make sure you all have a clear understanding of the program we're talking about. Really a 2-year rotational program. So I'd like to kick it off to Joey. What is it really like? Give us the down low.
So the first word when I think about what's it like being a TDP is fun, is what comes to mind. I think it's so fun being in a huge program. There's a bunch of people who join at the same time as you. And also at this point, TDP is established at Capital One. So there's a long line of TDPs who have entered the company. And it's really a fleshed out program at this point. So they have social events for you to meet people. They have networking. They have a really strong foundation set up for you to meet people after college, meet people at your company. Again, we spend at least like 40 hours a week here. So it's so fun to have people that you can rely on and communities that you can connect with, friends that you can talk about what's going on. And on top of all of that fun stuff, they have some great development for your career. They let you learn like we said, it's a 2 years with 1 year rotation. So 2 different teams. So you're guaranteed to have 2 years of unique experience that's so related to, that could change like the course of your career and the course of where you go. So it really is like so well-rounded and so fun because you get to learn so much, but then also meet so many people, have fun social events. I'm really happy and I really like being a TDP. I think it's a great first job I have after college.
Awesome. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Nina, to follow that question, just sharing a little bit more about your experience.
Yeah, I feel like Joey just sold me on it, even though I've already done it. I love Joey's energy. But yeah, now that I am an alumna of TDP, as you can see, so I've graduated from the program. I've been on both sides, being in the program and now a graduate of the program. So I can really like confirm what Joey has said, that it's almost like it's a sub community within Capital One. So Capital One has all kinds of cool resources for everyone. And then TDP is like this whole other place that's its own community with its own network. And so that's really cool to see, and just also getting to see kind of the preparation that goes into a team preparing to take on a TDP. The D in TDP stands for development. And that's a big thing that we work on, is making sure that we are helping people to develop in the program. So it's also really interesting kind of seeing the difference between bringing on a normal associate versus a TDP, how we prepare, how we make sure that we have all of the resources to help them get up to speed. So it's a really cool process and way to really go outside of your comfort zone. As I think we've all kind of learned that none of us really planned on computer science. So safe to say we're all outside of our comfort zone, but doing well so far.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Jocelyn, did you want to add?
Yeah. So to add on even more to what Joey and Nina said, first for the fun, definitely have had some good times with the TDP program. Like to give you specifics, before COVID, I would just like have a bunch of different TDP groups to go out with. So we'd go out on the weekends, and there was like a 2-week onboarding period where everyone who was hired in August 2020 got together in Richmond, and like we had a lot of fun. We would go out at night and everything, and then I have like a little lunch group that I eat lunch with on my floor. But after COVID happened, we the TDP council like hosted a bunch of things for us. So we were sent painting kits, we were sent succulent kits. What else did we do? We did a beer and kombucha tasting, a wine tasting. There was a bunch of other stuff that I can't even recall off the top of my head, but yeah, that was great. And then also the opportunities that were given for TDP, that's just been amazing as well. Like we have an online learning platform where you can take a bunch of online courses. I feel like there are always a bunch of conferences and courses. My managers were also really good. I'm not going too deep on these because I know our next question is a little bit similar. And then there were also like very specific TDP focused. There was like a TDP website that was specifically for TDPs to help out when you would onboard. So definitely a lot of great opportunities.
Thanks, Jocelyn. I feel like anytime I hear about what TDP fun events are happening, I'm always like taking notes and sending them to my manager, being like, just some ideas, because they're the coolest. You all have a lot of fun.
They're really good. My parents kept seeing me get like packages every 1 or 2 weeks, and they're like, another package from Capital One, and my dad's like, maybe I should join Capital One. I want all this cool stuff.
Yes, 100% +1. Same here. Great. Well, our next question, I know we started to kind of teeter into this category because we're talking about development, but what career progression resources are available in a campus program like the TDP? So really thinking through how you're able to develop, whether that's like, do you have a mentor, a development team that you're working on, really help maybe when you had those roadblocks of like trying to learn something new, what resources were available for you to learn? And then also would love to hear a little bit about how you've seen others grow on the TDP program to develop in their career. We'd love to hear insights from the panel today. So I'll let whoever wants to take a stab at this question go first.
I can go first. So I mentioned a couple of resources beforehand, but I think the biggest resource for me at Capital One are the people, specifically my managers. My managers have been really great. So one of the managers on my previous team, at the time I was only working on front-end development. And when I actually, to go back, when I first joined my first team, they sat me down and they're like, here's what we do. You'll probably be doing front end. There's also this potential for a machine learning project where we're gonna try and add this model into our Chrome extension where when customers are checking out, we're gonna try and automatically like detect credit card fields so we can like prompt our Chrome extension to say, hey, I noticed you've got a 16-digit credit card number field here. Do you want us to create a virtual card number for you and automatically just copy and paste all the credit card info in? So they wanted an ML model to do that automatically, so we didn't have to maintain a bunch of stuff and figure out where checkout fields were. So they're like, yeah, that could be a thing in the future. I don't really know. So fast forward several months later, the ML project starts to pick up steam. I actually get switched to a new manager, and I sit down with her and I'm like, hey, I know I'm doing front end, but I've been really interested in this project for a really long time. I really want to do ML. It's really, this is what I want to do long term. Can I pivot and work on this? And I was like, oh my God, what is she gonna say? And she was like, yeah, okay, let me look into this. And I'm like, okay. And then the next time I talked to her, I'm like, okay, I need to sell this to her and everything. And I talked to her and she's like, yeah, you can work on the ML project. And I was like, wait, really? That's it? She just let me do it, and I felt so lucky. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'll talk to our project manager and product owner and just make sure they're okay with it too. And she's like, no, don't worry about it, I have it all covered. And she just took care of everything for me and really supported me in that career decision, and I think that was really huge. And another thing is I've gotten to meet with my vice president and director of my current team, and it's just astounding the people resources you have here and how much they care and how much they do for you. So that's really stood out to me here at Capital One.
I absolutely +1 everything Jocelyn just said. The people here are amazing, and I find myself saying that all the time. You'll notice whenever you are ever put in a group, or for example, this panel, we just met for the first time this week, and I'm already these people are amazing. Everyone has such strong personalities and qualifications, and you really work with amazing people who want you to succeed, want you to grow, want you to develop in the development program. So I'll focus a little bit more on the technical things, what are available for you at Capital One to help you learn and become maybe a better software engineer or just more technically involved. So a big thing with Capital One is AWS. We recently moved all our data centers to the cloud, and we rely entirely on AWS for that, which stands for Amazon Web Services for anyone who isn't as familiar. And one of the big pushes at Capital One is for all of their engineers to be certified as AWS Solutions Architects, which is a pretty big deal. It's a huge certification. You have to study for it, prepare for it. And it means a lot. It means strong fundamental, even stronger, you know a lot about AWS, and you know about those architecture differences and what it really means to be in the cloud, at the best way, in the best way for your team, your project, your company. So it's a pretty cool certification, and Capital One not only emphasizes the importance of getting it, but helps you with resources on how to do that. They pay for your first time taking the exam, and they do that with so many different certifications. I could list a bunch of them. They also have different resources for you to learn. So we have Udemy, which is an online teaching hub. We have free subscriptions to that to go ahead and sign up for courses we want and go through them and learn. And then we also have different resources like this one called Learning Hive. So whenever I was in Coda, one of our units was to teach ourselves something. And I chose to teach myself Swift. So that's how you code mobile apps. And I entirely used Learning Hive. They set out a path for you, and they teach you little by little and any skill you want. And so through that, I learned Swift for the very first time, built my very first mobile app. So on top of all the amazing, and there is amazing people resources, amazing mentorship, amazing opportunity for you to really expand your soft skills and your network and your connections. They really understand the importance of teaching you proper software, how to be safe with your cybersecurity, how to optimize the way you use the cloud. And they give you the resources and they give you the support financially and with time to really work on those and develop yourself in that way too.
I'm gonna add on a little more to that on top of like all the incredible online courses, third party and internal, that Capital One provides. I've also been able to expense a lot of textbooks, specifically for my team, because my team is like super specialized, like graph machine learning, topological data analysis. So anytime I just like see a textbook that I'm interested, I just go to my manager and I'm like, hey, can I get it? And he's like, yeah, just charge it to your credit card, company credit card. So
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. I know about another big thing is like attending conferences that you're interested in just on specific topics. So I know in the virtual environment, it's been something personally I've been able to take advantage of, and I'm sure you all have been as well. As companies are hosting more virtual events, it just allows you, as long as you're having conversations with your manager, it's a great way to kind of speak up and share what you're interested in, and they may have some ideas from great events you can attend as well. So I personally have always found, like, if you ask and say the thing, your manager will work to make something happen or steer you in the right direction. Awesome. Okay, we are going to shift into the next question on, have you had the opportunity to get involved with our business resource groups? So I would love for someone first to maybe do a little bit of overview of our business resource groups and then share a little bit about which ones are you involved in? I'm happy to put a link in the chat too, so you all have access to an overview of our business resource groups. We call them BRGs, so feel free to catch us if we're saying that and you don't know what it means, but it's our business resource groups here at Capital One. So Nina, I'm gonna let you kick off this question, and I'm pretty positive Joey and Jocelyn will probably want to chime in.
Yeah, so I love this question. I love talking about our BRGs. So a little background on what they are. They're special interest groups within the company that you can get involved in, typically based on a part of your identity or as an ally to someone with that identity. So examples are, we have women in tech, Blacks in tech, Hispanics in tech. Out front is our LGBTQ plus resource group. We have Origins, which is for people of Asian descent. And we also have one for veterans. Like, the list goes on and on. Basically, anything you want to find people for, they're there. And they're so amazing because it's just, again, another community within Capital One where you get to come together, and they host events just for meeting people, for learning things together. And I've definitely thrived in that space. I've gotten very involved in women in tech, specifically in our recruiting space. So I actually lead a committee that is working on increasing diversity, inclusion, and belonging within our recruiting practices. So I've actually worked with Amy and Mallory in the past just on kind of our different recruiting efforts. And then I'm also on the Richmond board for Out Front. So as part of that, I get to help with planning out what kind of events we want to offer to our members. So that's really cool, just being able to be like, hey, I think this would be a cool thing to do. And all of a sudden it's an event. So an example that I've done in that space is we started offering pronoun sessions, kind of going over why it's important to share your pronouns, and creating resources for people to learn about that and learn how to just like add it to their name, like I did on Zoom. So this, I think, is where my passion really lies, and I get very excited about it. So I'm just going to cut myself off, but happy to answer more questions if anyone has any.
Awesome. Thank you, Nina. And I know it's LGBTQ plus History Month. So I always get excited when it's a new History Month or Heritage Month at Capital One. We always get an email with like, here are the upcoming events. Here are the really cool Zoom backgrounds. So I'm sure if I check my inbox now, I probably have some of the fun virtual backgrounds to add. So anytime there's a new, whatever we're celebrating during the month, it's usually correlated to one of our business resource groups. So it's also a great way to learn about something you may not be as familiar with, or meet someone new in the organization you may not be as familiar with. It's been a great way personally for me to develop my network, but would love to hear Joey or Jocelyn, anything you want to add on to that about business resource groups?
I mean, Nina really knocked it out of the park. She explained them perfectly. I'll just add on my sentiment, essentially. I love the VRGs. I think it's also an amazing way to meet people. And really, whenever you're first joining Capital One, it can also be a way for you to find mentors, find career paths, find opportunities that you didn't even know existed. And you already have that in if it's someone like you identify with, because you're like, I'm part of this BRG, oh, me too, or I'm an ally in this BRG. So it really is like a great way to meet people and stay involved. Similarly to Nina, I've gotten some awesome opportunities out of the BRGs. I've gotten to recruit for Outfront, which again is our LGBTQ plus one, and again, partner with Outfront to attend an LGBTQ plus conference earlier this year. So I love seeing the other side on how the BRGs, each of them take into account like that specific group of people's needs in terms of recruitment. And they use that to go tour, visit conferences, visit campuses, and do their own side of recruiting, help those type of people get to the company as well. So I think it's amazing being on the other side and seeing the level of importance DIB has at Capital One. Yeah, again, I could also talk about this forever, but I love the VRGs. I think they're awesome, and they're a great way to meet people and like feel like you have a community standing behind you at Capital One.
Awesome, Joey. Thanks for sharing. I will say one of the virtual wins we've had is our increase in people participating in our business resource groups. I know that makes me even more passionate of being at a company like Capital One, where the associates want to get involved and they're excited to learn, they're excited to support. So I know that gets me pumped up. So Nina, I feel your energy on this, and Joey and Jocelyn. So thanks for sharing. Awesome. We'll move on to our next question, and then we have a couple of questions from the audience we'll go ahead and answer out loud. But it seems like an easy question, but it's always one where we get the best responses. And I always like asking people. So I'm going to kick it off with why Capital One? And Joey, I'm going to let you take it away for why Capital One.
So I knew this question was coming, and that's also part of the reason that I cut myself off on that last answer. Because I mean, like I talked about a little bit earlier, it felt like my journey, whenever I found out about Capital One, was recruiting with Capital One, interviewing, it kind of felt like things just kept falling into place. And I kept thinking like, oh, I want this in my company, or I want this opportunity, and Capital One had something similar. So I was an engineer trying to figure out how to be a software engineer. Okay, well, we have Coda. Okay, like check. Let's talk about my next interest, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Like I said, I came from a manufacturing background, so those environments are not always the most diverse. And so that was something that was very important to me. So I can remember during my recruitment process, a representative from Outfront reaching out to me and just talking to me about Outfront, telling me what it was, telling me what BRGs were. And I immediately was like, okay, green light number 2, like this is already like turning into such an amazing thing. And then just the entire journey, whenever I was any associate I met, whether it be like a phone interview, a coffee chat, you meet several people through your final interviews where you have several in a row. Every associate you notice, first of all, you're like, this person's really cool, I want to be their friend. And then you also notice they're usually working on something just as cool. Everyone has awesome stories and hobbies, and you can tell when people talk about Capital One that they're usually really happy to work there. And I felt that energy. I felt so welcome. I felt really authentic and myself during my interviews. I loved, like I said, the huge steps they were taking in tech and all the opportunities I had heard about that were available through their campus program. So it was just one of those things where the stars aligned. I found out about Coda, I found out about Capital One, and then I found out I couldn't live without it. And I was like, how do I get hired? Like, I need it right now. It was my top choice my senior year. I was really so happy with everything that they had available and all the chances I felt like I would have, and I really believe I made the right decision. So I've definitely drank the Capital One Kool-Aid, so I have to say that whenever I talk about it, but I really do like it, and I love working here. So that's a little bit about why I chose Capital One.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Jocelyn or Nina, anything you all want to add?
Yeah, so I would say why Capital One over other companies is that just the overwhelming support from people at Capital One. I've gone into that extensively, but also just the incredible opportunities that Capital One has given me. Like, I've gotten to work as a front-end developer on CapitalOne.com, and then worked on machine learning, and now I'm doing ML research, which is pretty crazy because I didn't have to like go out and get a master's. And I've just been given so many opportunities to like learn about different pockets of cutting edge ML, or write a paper or present at a conference. And that's just, I think, is truly something really rare that you couldn't find at another company. Like, it still just blows my mind that, like Capital One in the first place, I think it's pretty telling, like Joey mentioned, that they would offer code in the first place, right? Like, they go out and hire people who have promise to be a software engineer. And like, when I was considering different companies, I just stopped interviewing with a lot of other companies because I was like I'm definitely doing Coda. I'm literally getting this incredible opportunity to learn, and that's just something that's been consistent throughout all my time here. That Capital One really just puts their people first, supports them, gives them a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, and I can add a little bit more too. I think now that I'm 3 years into my career, I almost have two answers to this question of why did I choose Capital One and why am I still at Capital One? So I have to say, when I was figuring out where to go, I was not thinking as far in advance as Joey was with all of his green lights. I didn't think to ask those questions, but I think what was important to me at the time was my motto kind of is, I want to like what I do, but I don't want to live what I do. So it's important to me that while I'm at work, I don't hate everything. But I also don't want to just like work 24/7 and never have a chance to take advantage of what my job gives me. And I think I really found that in Capital One. I know work-life balance is such a buzzword, but I think that's something that's actually really important at Capital One. Like, I've been told by managers many times in the past, like, you should log off early today. Like, you've done great this week. So really, like, having that support of not being encouraged to just like work myself to the bone is incredibly important. And then kind of on the flip side of why I'm still at Capital One, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I haven't been approached by recruiters and tried to convince to go somewhere else, but I'm just really happy here. And that sounds really cheesy, but like all of the reasons that we just talked about, Capital One really cares. And I think that's something that we all just feel. So as cheesy as it sounds, that's my honest answer.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. I love how we got into the work-life balance piece a bit. I think that's one of the things that personally I didn't really take into consideration when thinking about my first job, but like the first month after, I'm like, yes, this is a priority. I do want my personal life to be able to go out and do things. I will say, since I've joined Capital One, sometimes I brag to my friends. I'm like, when I'm done working, I don't check my phone. Like, our team respects each other's time. And like, we know how important it is to like recharge. And that's how we're able to deliver great work while we are working. It's because we take the time to recharge. And yes, Nina, my manager too, has been like, log off, enjoy yourself. And when I go on vacation, it's truly like going on vacation. And something that I've come to really prioritize over the past 10 years personally, of being able to make sure I take the time and truly invest in myself in that downtime. So I don't know if anyone else wants to touch on work-life balance. I know we've probably said it a couple times now, but Joey or Jocelyn, anything you want to add there?
I mean, I'll just second everything you guys said. Work-life balance has been really good in my past teams. Like, sometimes I'm talking to my friends and they're like, I've got to like do work over the weekend, whatever. They're like, I hate you. Like, I have to do all this work. And I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Like, why am I not working a ton? But yeah, Capital One is just, usually when we have a holiday, we'll have like an early release or something. And like, personal well-being is definitely emphasized, which is why Capital One is so good about the work-life balance. Like, I'm gonna be in the Boston office eventually, and I think there's like a meditation room and like treadmills. So that's another thing that speaks to the emphasis on well-being.
Awesome. And I think one thing I will add that made me laugh a little bit, I remember I hadn't taken all my vacation time one year, and my manager was like, no, you need to take it. Like, I want you to take it. Like, you don't need to work. Like take the vacation time and enjoy it. And I feel like I saw some head nods there. So Jocelyn, yes, our offices are definitely like enabling a lot of that to, go do a walking meeting or go chat with a friend and, take that downtime and relax. So +1 to everyone else. Well, awesome. This wraps up our prepared questions. I'm going to start taking some from the audience now. So looking forward to, taking these live questions. So the first one is around how to prepare for an interview. I know all of you went through the technical interview process, and it definitely can seem daunting. So I'll definitely make the first plug too that our team has workshops on a weekly basis to help prepare you for the technical interview. So I'll put a link into the chat if you want to join us for any of those workshops. But definitely one of the things that we do is working to make sure you have opportunities to learn about the process. But I'm going to let our panelists answer to how did you all prepare and how did you make sure you set up for success in the interview process?
Yeah, I can first of all kind of just confirm what Mallory said. I just led a technical interview workshop like 2 days ago. So definitely keep your eyes out for those. They're super helpful. But I think for me, what I really liked about Capital One's recruiting process is I got sent this long document that was basically like recruiting for dummies, or I guess interviewing for dummies. And it explained like everything you needed to know just about the mechanics of interviewing. And I think in my mind, the way I interpret that is it's kind of like Capital One doesn't want to test you on how good you are at interviewing. They want to test you on what you're bringing to the job. So they kind of eliminate that barrier by equalizing that playing field. And that's incredibly helpful. I think in terms of preparing, it's really just a matter of practice. As much as we can, our technical interviews are always kind of trivial in that I'm never like doing sorting algorithms at work. So it is kind of a matter of practicing in that regard. But I think also specifically for Capital One, all of our interviewers are volunteers. It's not recruiters doing the interviewing. It's people in software engineering roles like us doing the interviews. So we don't have any like, we don't want you to fail. We really want you to do well. And so my best advice is keep that in mind. Like your interviewers are on your team, they're not working against you. And that really helped me a lot of understanding that like, we're on the same team, they want me to do well, like we're all in this together. Cue the High School Musical songs and everything. So yeah, just remember everyone's there for you and practice.
I almost forgot that song and now it's stuck in my head for the rest of the day.
Welcome.
Jocelyn, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll quickly tack on to what Nina said. If your interviewer gives you a hint, there's probably a reason why they did that. They want to help you. So if they're giving you a hint, definitely take their guidance. I also prepared using all the resources that my recruiter gave me beforehand for the interviews. I've also given TDP and CODA interviews. For the technical interviews, I would just say, make sure you know your basic data structures, algorithms, leak code, just be solid. I would say like probably at the medium level. And I think you would be good.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And one of the things we say over and over again is really just practicing. So feel free to reach out to your recruiter for resources, practice with your peers, practice with multiple peers. That what gets you really comfortable communicating, one of the biggest pieces in the interview process. So it's great to practice with different people and have them push you and nudge you in different directions. So you're just continuing to develop that skill set.
And Mallory, I saw a question that I'd really love to answer if I can choose the question.
Go for it.
I saw a question a while ago about imposter syndrome, and that is another thing I love talking about. So I mentioned that my background is in statistics, so kind of where I find power is in numbers and quantifying my feelings. So I've done tons of research in that space, and I've actually created quite a few different PowerPoints that we now host as Capital One events. But one of those statistics is 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their career. So you're not alone. I think that's something that I've really struggled with my entire career, and I've come a long, long way in really believing in myself, building up my confidence and everything. But also I've kind of just learned that we're all just faking it until we make it. So if you feel imposter syndrome, acknowledge it, lean into it. And I will also plug our past Way Up event that Capital One did. Michaela Wright is someone from Capital One who's an incredible speaker, and she did a talk on imposter syndrome while also talking about our journey to the cloud. I watched it yesterday. It was really cool. I learned a lot. So would recommend going and finding that if you're interested in learning more. I am really a commercial for you today, Mallory.
I'm probably one of Michaela Wright's like most raving fans. But if you go to our Way Up page that we put in the chat a couple of times now, and you go to the videos section, you'll just click over to the 4th video, and that's the replay of Michaela and Nina. I've actually watched the event again, and I was on the event, but like that's how engaging she is as a presenter, and just makes you feel like, oh, other people go through a little bit of what I'm going through. It's just a very, for me personally, like it really resonated with me. And thanks for sharing that, Nina. I appreciate it.
That's what really helped me too, just realizing that a lot of people go through imposter syndrome also. So like definitely seconding, acknowledging it, just like talking with peers. Like I especially had imposter syndrome because I was CODA, so I didn't have that 4-year CS degree. But like as I talked to, other TDPs who like interned at Capital One, they're like, don't worry about it. Like there's still, so much I don't know. Like you probably have more they gave me all these reassuring affirmations and really helped me see the perspective. I like talked to my manager. I talked to mentors I had who were at other companies. I think I like read a really good article on imposter syndrome, but just realizing that it's a thing. It's just a feeling. It's natural. If you want to like read an official, more scientific-y term for it, look up the Kruger-Dunning effect. Like imposter syndrome is a thing. So
awesome. Well, we're gonna close with one of my favorite questions. I did not prep the panelists for this, so get ready for a great question. But I love to ask this question of, if I knew then what I know now, of your advice to give to students who are figuring out, navigating their career. What are the next steps? What advice do you wish you could have given yourself as you're going through this process of either, choosing your first internship or first job after school? I think it's always helpful to kind of give back advice as we go through this process. So would love for each of you to answer that question if you're comfortable doing so. And whoever wants to go first. It's always the question I listen up for, so I can take the tips too, because I think usually the advice can be valuable for any point in time in your career. So Joey, looks like you're off mute. You're going first.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm gonna go ahead and take a stab at this. So I think my advice of what I would tell my past self, what I would tell you all who are on this journey to start your professional career or continue some amazing experience that you have. I know whenever you're a high achieving someone who has gotten good grades, someone who works really hard and always does it and does 110%, it's really easy to feel like every single decision is like the end of the world. Like it's either this or nothing, or like to feel like everything is so important. And that's good. That means that you care about something, and that means that you really want something. But what I would tell myself then is, as long as you're making a decision, as long as you're doing something, you are building up capital, identity capital, career capital, you're building yourself up. So if things don't always end up the right way, or things don't fall into place exactly how you expect them, it's not the end of the world. And even if it's not about like something not working out, if it's between like choosing one thing or the other, like not every decision is gonna like destroy your life if it's not the right one. There's multiple right decisions, and so it's really important to think about that when I'm sure all of you are talking to amazing companies and looking at even multiple opportunities even within just Capital One, and each of those would be very different. Each company is very different, but at the end of the day, as long as you're giving your best, one of my favorite quotes is, no one ever regretted trying their hardest. As long as you're doing your job and doing what you need to do and staying on top of it and being your full authentic self, you're gonna find places where you fit, communities where you belong, and opportunities that excite you and propel you forward. So just again, nothing is final. No decision is your final decision, and you have so much time to keep sending yourself forward. So don't let one roadblock end your journey. Just let it be a pivot.
I wish we had the clapping emoji.
No, that was great. I needed that in my life. To go off of that, another way I would phrase it, or like a different spin on it, is if you like have all these different decisions for, like, I don't know, different careers or like different companies, and you can't decide, as long time, you are still making a wise investment by exploring a potential opportunity. And even if you find out you don't like it, you have gained something valuable, because now you know, like, okay, that's something off my list. Now I can explore the next thing.
I guess my advice is a little, after you've chosen a job, keep in mind that, like, if you've gone through the application process, you've gotten the job and everything, you got that job because they want you to be there. They want you to use your voice in that room. So use it. Kind of going back to that whole imposter syndrome thing. I think what I've learned along the way is I'm like my own worst enemy when it comes to work. So really just working on building my confidence, which unfortunately is not a thing that I can just say, be more confident. But really just going along that journey, stopping myself when I'm talking down about myself, and really encouraging myself to speak up, to use my voice, to contribute my ideas. The number of times I stopped myself from sharing an idea just because I thought, oh, like someone else must have thought about this before and just decided that it wasn't the right thing, when really it was just no one had thought of it. So don't be scared to speak up, to just be you. If you get the job, they want you there. So bring your full self to work.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for those thoughtful responses, and entertaining me with that question. And I know everyone in our audience enjoyed it as well. So thank you all for being here with us today. You can tell we like talking about life at Capital One, and always happy to do so. We've linked a couple helpful blogs in the chat, as well as our campus.capitalone.com website, where you can see program overviews, learn more about projects and opportunities at Capital One. So feel free to take a look, explore a little bit, but it's been our pleasure being here with you all today. So thanks for making the time. Have a great day, everyone.